Hey guys, what's up? Okay, so I know that I gave you guys an assignment yesterday doing one-step equations. You're going to need it. Okay, so I know that it seems like, oh, we did this last year, we don't need it anymore. No, you're going to need it. So with that being said, I kind of want to overview and I want this in your notebook. Do you understand me? You're going to need it in your notebook, so don't play me right now. Okay, so write it down. Write it. You're going to write. Okay, so we're going to be doing solving one-step equations, and then I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of solving two-step equations and the stuff that might be a little bit different. Okay, because I want to remind you. Okay, so solving one-step equations. Now, this is the stuff that we did last year, but I feel like you need it. Okay, because you know, I was talking to one of the kids earlier and they're like, I don't remember that. I'm like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. Okay, so make sure, okay, so when you're solving one-step equations, so for example, J minus 12 equals 68. Remember, you're going to do the opposite. Do the opposite of the sign. Okay, so for instance, we have a subtraction sign here. So for those of you who are still struggling with kind of trying to remember which side is which, draw your line through your subtraction sign. So now you've got two sides of the equation. Okay, remember the equal sign represents, you know, a side. So J minus 12 is one side and the 68 total is the other. Okay, so we've got J minus 12. Well, if we've got minus 12, we know in order to undo the operation, we have to do the opposite, okay? So, remember, the opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of multiplication is division. Got it? Okay. So we've got J minus 12 here. Okay. So the opposite of minus 12 is plus 12. And remember, you have to do it to both sides. Remember when we were talking about the, you know, the seesaw effect? Remember that? Yeah, we got a seesaw here. So you got, you know, Miss Price on a seesaw. I gotta put a skirt on me. You like that? Yeah, that's Miss Price. Oh wait, hold on. Now we got Miss Price. There we go. We got some hair. We got some her. Some her up in her. All right. And so if you put me on one side of the seesaw and then put, let's say, I'm trying to think of someone really small. Well, a 5-year-old. All right, on the other side, clearly not fair. He's not going anywhere. Like that's not fair. Okay, so you have to do it to both sides. Do to both sides. So keep your seesaw even. Okay, so you've got minus 12 plus 12. That cancels out because remember, a negative and a positive, if it's the same number, that equals 0. So then you're going to do 68 plus 12 is 80. Because you've got 8 plus 2 is 10. 6, 7, 8, 80. Okay, so J equals 80. Does that make sense? Okay, so with that being said, let's take a look at a few more examples real quick just to remind you guys. Okay, so remember if you had something like x divided by 2 equals, we'll say 6. Okay, this is division. That's division. Okay, see how it looks alike? You've got something on top and bottom and a line in between, and same thing here, something on top and bottom and a line in between. Okay, that's division. Make sense? Got it. Okay, so what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So we're going to draw a line through our equal sign. So we've got two sides again. This is division, so we're going to do multiplication to get rid of it. And you're going to multiply on this side too. Okay, 6 times 2 equals 12. So then that means that x equals 12. that make sense? Okay. So we've done a subtraction one, we've done a division one. Let's do a multiplication. Remember when you have something like, if you have a number and a letter right next to each other, it's combined by multiplication. Okay, so you have a number and a letter right next to each other, that's multiplication. Okay, so 6x equals, we'll go with 24. All right, so if this is multiplication, the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 6, divide by 6. Okay, so when you have 6 divided by 6, it equals 1, and that cancels out. And you've got 24 divided by 6. So x equals 4. Does that make sense? So we've just solved for x. X equals 4. All right, so we've done subtraction, we've done division, we've done multiplication. Let's do a quick addition one. So if we've got m plus 3 equals 9, because we can, remember we're going to draw a line through our equal sign, and we've got a plus 3 here, so the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 3 from both. 9 minus 3 equals 6, and those two cancel out. So m equals 6. Does that make sense? I like it, I like it, I like it a lot. All right, so we're good there. All right, so that is solving one-step equations. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for just a second if you need to pause it to catch up on any of those notes. Solving one-step equations is that. Okay. All right, so moving on. Okay, so we've done solving one-step equations. Let's do solving two-step equations now. Okay, so solving two-step equations. Solving two-step equations. And please make sure that you label these so that way you can find them later in your notebook, because you are going to still be using this throughout. Now, we're not doing linear equations. We're just doing, but you're still going to need all this information. Okay, so breathe. But you still need it for the geometry that we're going to be doing. Okay, so we know that all the rules for solving one-step equations still applies. So you still have to do the opposite, but now we're going to be doing not only the opposite, but we have to figure out what order we're going to do that in. Okay, so we still have our opposites, so I'm just going to rewrite those just because we're on a new page. So you've got multiplication and division are opposites, and addition and subtraction are opposites. Okay, so remember PEMDAS, right? So parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Okay, so that's the order of operations. But remember, we have to do the opposite. So step 1, that's your addition and subtraction. Okay, so typically on a typical one, and we will go into the ones that are a little bit weird, but typically your addition and subtraction will be first. Okay, step 2, you've got multiplication and division. Okay, step 3 is, other things. Okay, so let's take a look at a very, basic looking one so we know what to do first. Okay, so we will do 5 plus 4x equals 33. Okay, so step 1 is our addition and subtraction. Now I know that this says plus 4x, but remember when you have a number and a letter right next to each other, that's multiplication, always. okay? When it looks like this and you have them right next to each other, that's multiplication. So that's going to have to be step 2. The first thing we need to handle is this 5. All right, so that's a positive 5, right? Remember, if there's nothing in front of it, it's automatically a positive 5. So we're going to subtract 5. Now, we want to make sure that we got this straight. So why don't we draw a line through? Because remember our little seesaw majigger? We got to keep it flat. We can't have, we can't have, you know, yeah, I'm trying to think of another example. We can't have, like, you know, Miss Price in a sumo wrestler, you know. Hold on, put me in a skirt. You can't have Miss Price and, like, oh, hold on, in the hair, and a sumo wrestler. Hold on, let me put a little bun up on top. You don't have to draw this, by the way. And a sumo wrestler, we can't. No, none of that. None of that. Like, that's not going to work out. Okay, so because, like, clearly, like, he'd be like way down here. Hold on, let me fix my seesaw. He'd be down there. All right, so with that being said, make sure that you're even. There we go. Oh, I love it. Love it a lot. Okay, so hold on. Hold on, he needs, like, the little thing that they do. Okay, that looks like underwear. Well, it looks like underwear in real life too. Okay, so plus 5 and minus 5, those two are going to cancel out, and you're going to subtract 5 over here. Whatever you do to this side, you have to do to this side. We don't want a sumo wrestler and Miss Price, you know, on a seesaw. That sounds like a bad idea. So 33 minus 5 is going to be 28. I had to think about that. See, even Miss Price has to think about it sometimes. So now we still have 4x on this side. We've canceled out the plus 5, and we've got 4x on this side. So remember, this is multiplication. 4 and x, when they're right next to each other like that, that's multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. Divide by 4, divide by 4. 28 divided by 4, x equals 7. Think about that. That's sad. Okay, so 28 divided by 4 is 7. So the answer to this would be 7. So our first step was our addition and subtraction. We had to get rid of that. And then our second step was your multiplication and division. Now, this is a typical thing that you're going to see. Okay, it just is. However, on occasion, you wind up with something that looks like this. 8. Okay, so we can't separate these because they're both divided by 4. We can't do m divided by 4 and 7 divided by 4. If we did 7 divided by 4, it would wind up being a decimal, and it would get real hairy real quick. We don't want to deal with that. Okay, we don't want decimals and shenanigans. We don't. So the first thing you're going to deal with, remember that this is division, because remember, when you have something on top and on bottom and a line in between, that's division. So this is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. So you're going to multiply by 4, multiply by 4. Hold on, Miss Price forgot to draw her line. So let's draw our line. 8 times 4 is 32. So 32 equals m minus 7. Now that we've gotten rid of this 4 and we don't have something binding this 5 and 7 together, we can finally get rid of this negative 7. So we've got subtract 7. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So we're going to add 7, add 7. 32 plus 7 is 39 equals m. Does that make sense? Okay, so when you have something like this division binding two numbers together, we got to get rid of that first. Another example of that would be if we had something like 3 and then parentheses, okay, and then x plus 2 equals 24. Okay, so if we're going to do this, there's 2 ways to go about it. The simpler way to me is, remember, when we have a number and a letter right next to each other, it's combined by multiplication, right? So we've got these 2 things next to each other. There's nothing in between here showing us what it's combined by. So it's got to be multiplication. Okay, it has to be. So then in order to get rid of this, we have to do the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide this whole thing by 3. And divide this by 3. Now, with that being said, all that does is just get rid of this 3 on this side. So let me draw our line. Okay. And then we've got 24 divided by 3. Well, 24 divided by 3 is 8. And we've got x plus 2 left. We got rid of the 3, but we still have what's inside this parentheses. But now it can be outside the parentheses because it's not being multiplied by anything. So then we've got addition. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. 8 minus 2 is 6. And then we've canceled this out. X equals 6. So this is another example whenever you have parentheses that you might have to do it in the opposite way. We're still doing the same thing in that we're doing the opposite operation, but you might have to switch those steps, okay? And these are the two examples that you will most likely see where you have to switch it. If it's both things are divided by something, or if you have something where you've got a parentheses and everything is because like these things are multiplied by 3. Both of them are. So they're both being multiplied by 3. We got to get rid of that 3 first. If they're both being divided by 3, 4, whatever it is, you got to get rid of that first, okay, before you can break those 2 up. Or else you wind up doing like 2 divided by 3 and that just gets ugly. And ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, so I hope that helps out. Once again, feel free to rewatch the video, zoom through it if you need to at home. I'm going to give your teacher the Google Classroom code so that way you guys have access to the assignments, the notes, even if you're at home. So I hope you guys have a great day, and be nice to the set, please. All right.